What's up, guys? Welcome back to IT Security Labs, and today we are attacking a machine from Tryhackme, and this is called Empline. Empline is a really good machine. It's rated as medium. We're going to learn how to do proper enumeration and also how to find things by ourselves without relying on tools. So without wasting time, first thing we need to do is copy the IP address and come to our Kali Linux. I like to start by doing a simple ping to make sure that we can get to the machine. And then once we can get there, we can run our nmap -sv -sc, so we can see what's running on that system. This is going to do basic nmap scan using service version, so we can know what version of services are running, and also run some default scripts on anything we find. This machine is really great for those who are going for the OSCP. It does show you how to enumerate, and it's more realistic than some of these other machines. So we see right away that we have port 22. Usually during your enumeration, this is where your methodology matters. Right now, port 22, we know it's 7.6 Ubuntu. That's usually not vulnerable, so we move on to port 80. And every time I see port 80, the first thing you need to do is open a browser and go to their website and see what is running on that website. Right away, we need to start poking around and see, can we see any users? Can we see the version of the website? Is it WordPress? Is there any contact pages, login pages, and things like that? So right away, I scroll all the way to the bottom. It should say something like powered by WordPress. If it was WordPress, sometimes it will say that here. It doesn't. I see that we have users James, who is a web analyst, and we have George, who is a system admin. So right away, I'm taking some notes. I know I have a user George. If I find any credentials somewhere, I'll try them on the user George here because he's the system admin. So that's good to know. As I was scrolling by, it looks like this was just a static page. It's going down. And right here at the bottom here, to the bottom left, every time I click on something, look what happens. It shows me what the page is. So if I go to testimonials, if I go to employment, it doesn't do anything, but right at the bottom of my screen down here, you will notice that you get a little job.empline.thm/careers. See that? Job.empline.thm/career all the way at the bottom of my screen, the opposite from where I am. So we know we need job.empline.thm in our host file. To verify this, we can view the page source. Let's search for is where it's redirecting it to. So if you click on that, this is the site we need to be visiting if we were to go there. So that page redirects here. And we don't have anything there, so we need to add this to our Etsy host so we can actually view that page. So to do that, we come here, EI, search etc, search host. So we need to paste that entry. Insert. Let's just format this file correctly, because right now it's a mess. So it's 10.142.84. Now we have our job.empline.thm here. We should be able to access it now. All right. Now come back. Let's refresh this. And there we go. So we fixed our Etsy host. So through manual enumeration, either looking through source page or just coming out here and clicking on the employment page, it's not doing anything, but hopefully you're paying attention to the bottom here. Otherwise, source page was also going to show you that we are redirecting that file. So that's part of manual enumeration number 1, being able to see that right away. So now that we have a job site, what's happening here? Current open position. See open position. It looks like we're using this open cats thing here. It says open cats careers page. So let's verify. I just gone straight to the slash careers. What if I was just doing this? What is a landing page like? All right, so the landing page says open cats and it's a username and it's asking for a username and password. So we can log in here, but it also has the version 0.94. We really love versions. The moment you see a version, you need to start Googling. I start Googling without the version exploit. You'll notice that right away in Google, we see 0.94. That's exactly what we have right here. So we don't even look in exploit. Here it says OpenCats application system update. So I'll open that in a new tab. I like blog posts, then I can see more. So I'm just opening a bunch of them here. Packet Storm. This is a good blog post here by DoD Security. Actually, this is the best of them all by this gentleman, Reginald Dodd. This is not the first time I've seen his documentation, so I really like that. His expertise is good. So far, it looks like this vulnerability is in version 0.94 or version before that, so that's good. What we're going to be tested right now is our ability to read documentation and follow instructions, because everything that is here should be able to let us in. So you and I are going to go through this documentation. It talks about the vulnerability walkthrough here. It says that we need to go and view and apply for jobs. So let's go and try to view and apply for jobs. This is in the slash careers. Show all jobs. We only have one, mobile dev. All right, so once we do that, it looks like if you read more about this vulnerability, it says that we can create a Word document and edit its metadata pretty much, and that will give us command. That will give us code execution on the system. So we'll just follow what is talked about here. So instead of creating this document in Kali, I don't have the ability to just create open Microsoft Word and start creating a document. So we are going to use this script that he's talking about here. So this script pretty much imports from document, import docs from document. So we are going to need docs, Python modules on our system, and then this script here. So I went ahead and typed it out because this is just an image. But let's go ahead and show you what that looks like in Kali. So here I have the create docs.py. This is identical to what they have here. Create.py. So this is what this Python thing is going to do. It's going to use docs. Document from docs. So you need to make sure that you have docs and document on your Kali. Then I'm going to create, add a paragraph here, and I'm just going to add the word subscribe. If you look here, he had his name. I just added subscribe because I would like you to please subscribe if you can. Then document, it's just going to create a document.docs. That's all it's going to do. So let's go and create a document.docs. So right now I don't have anything. It's running in Python 3. Create docs.py. It should just hang and create a document here for us. All right, so now if we do an ls, we get a document.docx. So we are just following a public proof of concept, And this is just one of those things you need to know as an attacker, right? So we created it. It does something else. At this point, docs is not malicious. Of course, it's not. We can upload it, and it should just give us. Did I skip something? Oh yeah. So if you just try to upload that document, it won't do anything. So it'll just print the name that is in here in the paragraph. Reginald dot. In this case, mine is subscribe. So let's test it. I would like to test it. So I'd like to copy document.docs to /home. Let me edit this one to the desktop. All right, so let's upload that document. So going back here, let's apply to this position. Browse, desktop, here's the document that we just created. So if I upload, it just says subscribe. So we know we have code execution here, because then the next step that he talks about is, okay, he does that. Let's move on to the next step where he says we need to unzip the document and then add this as the second line to the document metadata. All right, so let's do that. Unzip document.docs. So it inflated a bunch of things, but you see it created all these things. We need to go in the Word directory, and in here we need to find out if there is any this document.xml, that's what he's talking about here. And then we need, he said, to add this should read etc password. Then we need to edit our word subscribe to $test and colon. So let's do that. Copy that, add that as a second line, he said, in the document.xml. So in here, let's add a second line. I'll just paste this one here. Insert, make sure that the format is correct. All right. And we also need to edit this subscribe here. I'm just going to do it the exact way that he has. It's an and test, then colon, like that, semicolon. So now we did exactly what the exploit is saying. We need to proceed. Yeah, we did that. We did that. Now we need to proceed and zip the that document back into another document and upload it and see if we get etc password. So let's do that. So we need to get out of the Word directory first. Do an ls. Then the command was zip resume.docs. So it's word slash document.xml. All right, so we should end up with a resume.docs here. Let me copy this. Okay, I'm going to copy that resume as exploit.docs on my desktop. So I'm going to copy resume.docs to my desktop, and it's going to be saved as exploit.docs. Then I'll try to upload that exploit.docs this time. Browse exploit.docs. This one should now show me the contents of etc password. And as you can see, here they are, the contents. We saw two users earlier, so we need to verify James and George. Are they really in here? Because having users is very important, right? we need users to be able to exploit this machine. So let's see. Here's George. George is the interesting one. Yeah, we see we have George, and George can have shell on the system. So this is good. Make note of this, that we have a user George, and also we verified that. So now we proceed with our exploit to make it more useful. According to DDoS security, we can even read the configuration file by editing. Instead of the etc password, we want to read the encoded, this is base64 encoded config.php. Config.php contains the configuration files for the system. And in this case, if we go back to our nmap, we also know that we have a database that is exposed, which is very, very good then, because config.php usually has the database configuration files for most systems. So if we can get those credentials, that would be wonderful. So how then do we read the contents of config.php? We are told here, add this line here, and this will go to the system and base64 encode the config.php and display it to us. So I'm going to add this line here to our docs file. So going back here, we go to Word. Let's go and edit again the document .xml. This time we want to remove our second line. Instead, we want to insert a new line in here and add the line from that side. All right, so I'm just going to copy that new line, make sure that it works. All right, so there it is, pasted here. All right, so now this is going to go and get the config file for us. So let's save this, get out of there, and rerun our zip command, but this time we name it something different. What was the zip command again? Yeah, there it is. This time I want to name this one resume 1, because we already have a resume that is zipped here. And this shouldn't take too long. All right, so now that we have zipped that, we should have a resume 1 right here. All right, let's copy resume 1 to my desktop again. This time I'm going to name it exploit 1. And this is a resume 1. All right, let's see if we can upload this new exploit 1 file and see what happens. So there it is, open. If we upload it, we expect to see base64 encoded content in here, which is the contents of config.php. And right away, it works. So the biggest takeaway here is know how to read proof of concepts. And this time we are literally not thinking. We're just following exactly how they have it written on DoD security. So look up blog posts that have detailed proof of concepts if you're ever faced with an exploit. So here I'm going to copy the whole base64, and this is going to get ugly for me because I'm going to skip a step. I don't want to save this as a file. Instead, I'm going to do this. I'm going to say echo, then I'll open a bracket. I'm going to paste the whole thing here, close, and pipe it to base64 minus D. Let's see if I get it. All right, there it is. So I echoed the whole thing in base64 minus D. Maybe I should also send the results to config.php. All right. Okay, if I do that, I should now end up with a config.php in here. Cat config.php. That was ugly, but it worked. Usually you save the results to a file, then you decode the file using base64, but why not go straight? In here, we are looking for credentials, and usually this reminds me of WordPress, right? You only need the DB database user and stuff like that. In this case, I see right here we have database user, James, and this password. So let's try these passwords. Who is James, by the way? Is he the he's the web analyst? He's not even the system admin. So James is the DB user. So since these credentials are for the database, we have MySQL here on 3306, so should be able to just connect to MySQL directly. My dash user is James, and then dash p, and I'm going to paste the password. I hope this works. Of course, I need to specify the site on dash host, and we're in. So what do you do when you get into a database? You ask it, show databases. Show me what databases are there. Information schema is default, so we need to use open cat. This is now going to use the database for our user. Okay. All right. So now that we are in OpenCat, show tables. I do this every time I have a database, and we see we have a user. It should say users or something, right? All right. So we have user. That's what we're interested in. Select everything from user. And maybe selecting everything wasn't the smartest, but so this is James's password hash, which is we are in here as James. Remember, we also have George, and here's George's password hash. So let's try to crack George's password hash, because George is the system administrator, and this is just an admin. We're interested in George, so I copied George's password hash. Let's go to crack station first. If the password is easy to crack, we should be able to crack it with crack station. Otherwise, we might have to get clever and use our tools here, but why not try the easiest? Right away, we see that we cracked it on crack station. So we copy the new password for George. He's a system administrator. Usually system administrators set up systems. So let's try to SSH as George, since SSH is open. You can also try to SSH as James, which I didn't, but you should. I tried earlier. It doesn't work. So I'm going to keep the database open just in case we need to go back there. George Air. All right. And say yes, we would like to get in, and then paste the password that we just found. It's hanging, which shows me that it's working, and we're in as George. So let's clear the screen here. And first thing is ls. We have user.text. And let's grab the user.text and give it to Tryhackme, make sure that it works. Now we need to give them the user.text. Submit. All right, so that's the correct user flag. Now we move on to privilege escalation. And here, cd/home. Let's make sure that it's the user is only George in here. We have George and Ubuntu. With Ubuntu, we got nothing. Can we see .ssh? We can't, of course. So we are back in our space. Here, I go to my privilege escalation. There's a few things I try right away to make sure that things work. I check for SUID. Actually, sudo -l is the very first thing that I do. And George's password, which is this. Okay, so George cannot run anything as sudo. Now we check for SUIDs, and an SUID file is a file that will run with the permission of the person that owns it. So if we see a file that is owned by root and we can run it, we should be able to abuse it. So here, most of this is just noise. These things come default with Ubuntu systems. None of this looks interesting. I even checked this one. They're not interesting. None of them work. So next, we check for any anything really that shows us that maybe we have cron. So we do a cron tab -L. No cron for job. Cat such etc cron tab. All right, it's just showing us the path, but we got nothing. Actually, yeah, we have nothing. These are easy wins. So since I cannot find anything here, I'm just going to go to the temp directory and I'm going to bring in linenum. So linenum will show me all the possible ways to crack this machine. So let's go back to our Kali. I know I have LinPEAS here. Okay, it's all lowercase. I have it in the privilege escalation or some scripts, LinPEAS. Let's just host our HTTP server from there. So we need to transfer files, this LinPEAS file, to our victim machine. So for that, let's use Python 3. 3-m http.server on port 80. All right, so since we're hosting it on port 80, we need to go to the victim machine and figure out how to get it there. PA, you need your tunnel IP, then go back to here, wget http, and then paste, then linpeas.sh, and just like that, we downloaded LinPEAS here. Let's make it executable. Oh, I forgot +X. All right, now let's run LinPEAS. And I would like this to actually output the results to privs.txt. That way, we can read the results for LinPEAS from a file, because sometimes it displays a lot. So this will run for a little bit, and then we'll come back and make sure that we can get there. All right, so LinPEAS is done running. I would like to clear and ls. So now I have my file privs.txt. This is just easier so that I can search in this file if I want to. But here are all the results from LinPEAS. It's a lot. You need to come up with a way to get through these fast. But as you can see, I mean, we'll get a lot of things. You need to look through these with a very, very fine comb here. So like you need to keep going. Users with capabilities. We got nothing. But here, files with capabilities. I had never seen this exploit in my life. But turns out if you have Ruby and Ruby has capabilities, in this case, it's changing the owner, at least that you own here. So this is interesting. Of course, this took me a long time, like a very long time to get to, but it's changing the owner. So I copied that, go to Google, Let's go to hack tricks here. Okay, Linux capabilities. Why capabilities? This explains why what happens with capabilities and if a file has capabilities, what it does, and this will help us. So we have Ruby with capabilities. If you do a simple Google search here, you will find this article. I saw this one from someone, so I'll use this one as an example. All right. Let's clear the screen because we found a capability, and use that document to read more about capabilities if you want. Let's name it exploit.rb since we will be using this one. All right, insert, and Ruby is the one that is running this chown file. Okay, so chown, what file do we want to own, and what is our user ID actually? Because this one is the user ID and this is the file. So for now, let's change the file. There's only one file we are interested in changing, its capabilities, which is the etc password. So we can just create our own user. Such etc such pass wd. That's the file we want to modify. Let's go and find out what our user ID is and put it in there. So ID. So George is 1002. So let's go back in there. And put 1002. Make it George. Okay. So Ruby can run that. Or before we run our exploit, let's ls -la such etc such pass wd. See what are our permissions there. It's owned by root. We can only read it. We want to be able to write to it. So let's now run our exploit.rb ruby .rb. Let's see if Ruby runs. Okay, so that was quick. ls -la etc password. Let's find out if we made any changes to it. Nothing. We have this one right. Yeah, I had a typo. See, 1022. I was like, why is the user ID change not correct there? We added 2 2s. We need just 1002. So escape, right quit. Let's rerun our Ruby because that will not work. I'm glad that we checked, otherwise we'll be like, why is this not working? All right. Now we have George showing up. That's better. So George can read and write the etc password. So let's quickly add a malicious user to etc password with executable permission. I have a cheat sheet in my was it privilege escalation? Yeah, I have a backdoor user somewhere in here. Is it in my exploitation? I think. I'll show you quickly. So I have a note that says, I've seen this over and over again, of course. So if you can edit etc password, I always add the user subscribe and the password is going to be password. So first you generate the password for the user. This could be on any Linux system. It doesn't have to be on the actual system, but something like this. So make pass is going to make the password in SHA-512 for Linux. In this case, the password is going to be password. This will be the password hash. We need it to generate it on our Kali, of course, because we don't have make pass. All right, so let's run it here. This will give you a pass that is ready to put, and of course we know the password for this is password, right? So once you copy that, you need to create a user in the same format that etc password takes. And to make that process easier, I have it here. So I always do an echo, the user subscribe, and the password hash for password. And I will make this user root, and I'm adding that to etc password. So if I run this is why you want to have notes, was then you don't have to spend too much time researching this process because you've done it before. But I wanted to explain to you so that you know what I'm doing here. Okay, so if we get /etc /pass wd all the way at the bottom here, you notice that the last person was George. But if we run our echo command, we should have subscribe added there. Oh, I made a silly mistake. Of course, I am so silly. I made a mistake. Let's go back to our exploit.rb. Let's actually give George the real permissions here. In this case, I think we need to specify like this: 1002. Root still on the file. So Ruby exploit.rb. Now let's do an ls-la. Make sure we own the damn file because we need to own the file. Okay, now let's run our echo command. All right, this shouldn't take too long. And then once we do that, cat, and we should see our user George there. And here's our user subscribe with the password. So this is all the password hash that we're talking about. And then we made sure that this user has root permissions. So you'll be root. So if we go and switch user to subscribe and password, we should become root right away, as you can see here. So if we go to the root directory, get root.txt, we found the root flag. So now we should be able to submit that to Tryhackme and see if they'll take it. And hopefully you learned a few things here about enumeration and how things are done. But as you can see, we completed the machine. This is really great for those who are going for the OSCP. So thank you for being here. If you haven't, please like and subscribe. Otherwise, I will see you in the next video. Thank you.